different plants, different voices, and different ways of having conversations. It's time to get personal with plant medicine. Welcome to Getting Personal with Plant Medicine. I'm your host, Diana, and today I am joined once again by Christopher Dini. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Of Christopher's Organic Botanicals. Thank you for joining me again, Christopher. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, great to be here and always talk about Kratom. It's what I do every day. So
yes, and I appreciate that so much because especially right now, if you are a Kratom user, you might be aware. If you're not, you might be seeing a lot of scary headlines because there are many floating around stoking fear, and a lot of these news stories are underreported. And unfortunately, that scares people away from trying Kratom. And the most recent addition to all of that, because that's been going on for ages, but now we have 7-OH to deal with. And a lot of people who aren't informed about Kratom are led to believe that 7-OH is the same thing as whole leaf Kratom. So can you briefly explain the difference between the two?
sure. See, the problem with this, and I wrote a blog about it, a couple months ago, and it was how did 7-OH confuse Kratom consumers and the industry? So what happened I just started hearing about it probably 2023, beginning of 24. I had people calling me up or stopping by my shop and going, "Hey, I got this stuff." They told me I went to the smoke shop or, gas station, and I was looking for Kratom. I ran out of Kratom. I was just looking for a good Kratom. So I said, "Hey, what's the best Kratom you have?" "Oh, you got to try this. This is the new Kratom. This Kratom powder's dead," is what my daughter was told when she went and asked last year. And she's like, "What do you mean it's dead?" "Oh, nobody wants that anymore. This is what they want. This is the new and improved Kratom." Okay. So my daughter knew that wasn't true, obviously, from being customer service for the company. And that was okay. But these other customers came to me and said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, great. It's the new Kratom. Let me try it." And next thing I know, I'm buying a pack a day and I can't stop taking them. So is there a responsibility in there of not taking the whole pack in one day? Sure. But in the beginning, there wasn't a lot of directions for use. There wasn't a lot of instructions on them. Nowadays, they do. They have do not take more than one tablet in a 24-hour period or do not exceed. So the industry, 7-OH industry, obviously realized there's a problem. And sometimes it's more like a cover your butt type thing. But there was no direction. People didn't know, and people were lied. They were duped. They were told that 7-OH is the new Kratom. Now, that being said, over the last 2 years, everything I know about Kratom, everything I know about 7-OH, is that 7-OH is beneficial to people who are in severe pain management. That would be beneficial because at that point, you don't care if you're addicted to anything. You just want to be out of pain. So as a pain patient, I know that.
Yeah.
So beyond that, the person who just wants to make their Kratom tea and have a replacement for coffee and enjoy all the alkaloids and all the benefits, like 7-OH is only working on the opioid receptor.
Okay.
And it's only targeting one area. Kratom targets 5 areas of the body. Well, that's still being debated, but we know at least 3 or 4.
Right.
But it's working on multiple systems at one time. The 7-OH is not. So there's actually subalkaloids within the Kratom plant that are an opioid blocker. So it's almost like a regulator. So if somebody were to take 7-OH along with Kratom powder, it may regulate itself better. But if somebody was taking 7-OH standalone, it's probably going to be more of a problem for them.
That makes sense. I mean, in my beginning of my Kratom journey, back in those days, you couldn't put instructions on a Kratom package. You couldn't even imply that it was for human consumption. And so I took some extracts back then because I didn't really know. And like you said, being a chronic pain patient, it is something that worked really well. And you're like, oh, okay. But then you realize pretty quickly, well, this could be a slippery slope, at least for people with addictive personalities like myself. And so I had to step back and make sure that I became educated about it. But the problem is with all of these bans that are happening or proposed to happen, and like I mentioned earlier, the underreported news stories, it's becoming increasingly difficult to educate yourself as a consumer if you don't know where to look. like I follow so many people like you, but I had to find you, and it's not easy with social media. Social media does not like plant medicine. We've made that clear on this podcast.
Yeah, no, no.
So that it is definitely challenging. So can you speak a little bit from a harm reduction perspective, why a ban should be avoided for 7-OH instead of
Well, I think,
regulation, I should say?
yeah, I think a ban, definitely a ban on anything stupid. That's
Mhm.
just my opinion. Prohibition doesn't work. Anytime somebody or any government agency tried prohibition with anything, we'll use alcohol. It's the most well known. People fought back,
Yeah.
and they did not want that. Funny enough, I was reading a story last year, and it was saying that how everybody in the government and the White House back during Prohibition had whiskey and had all this alcohol in the White House. So they were still drinking their alcohol. They just wanted it banned for everyone else. That's wrong, first off. You're going to cause a problem. If somebody now, 7-OH has been it's really been around for a while, probably about 10 years, but it
Oh,
just
okay.
wasn't on the market
Right.
the way it is. Full. You might have one guy making some stuff and selling it as a small batch somewhere, but it wasn't as open the way it is now.
Okay.
So now you have people that have been taking this for 2 years, let's say. They're addicted to it or whatever. They have a problem with it. Well, you rip it off the shelves. Now what are they going to do? They're going to go to the street. They're going to go to whatever else they can find to get rid of that feeling. I know from people that I've talked to, just taking kratom powder after coming off 7-OH does not work.
Mm.
They actually have to step down to a kratom extract for about a week or two, then step down to the kratom powder, and then they can step off completely.
Okay.
Because funny enough, as we know, kratom powders help a lot of people get off other illicit drugs and illicit
Sure.
substances. 7-OH is no different. Plus, it's a synthesized metabolite of something that's naturally occurring in the kratom plant. So I think somewhere in there, the kratom plant helps break that down as you're taking the whole powder and helping you get rid of all that extra. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. I just know for myself from what I've learned. I understood that a 20 milligram 7-OH tablet's the equivalent of a kilo of kratom powder.
Okay.
So that's one tablet,
Wow.
120 milligram tablet
Wow.
for a whole kilo. So if your body's taking in that much of a substance that's not supposed to be there naturally, and that's why I always go back to taking it the way it's supposed to be taken or using whole plant, because the whole plant has its mechanism in there to stop you from taking too much. If you drink too much kratom tea or kratom powder, you're going to get nauseous and throw up.
Yep.
Your body knows
Been
it's
there.
too much. Get it out. Yes, we all have. And your body knows, get it out. Okay, don't take that much and move on. I know from personal experiences taking extracts. I was trying different extracts back at 21 when the salt extracts are becoming popular. And they were using them in a lot of the products like Kratom or a lot of these other ones. And they're strong. So I was like, all right, I wonder if a little bit this, that. I was, testing it out. I took entirely too much. I wasn't paying attention. And I weighed out the wrong extract, basically, when I was testing it on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought one was the 45. It was really an 80. So anyway, I took about 400 to 500 milligrams of mint in one shot. Let me tell you, when you take too much kratom and you get nauseous, you throw up, 10, 20 minutes later, you're okay, right? My body didn't have anything to purge.
Okay.
I was miserable for about 6, 7 hours. There was no way to purge it.
Right.
How do you purge it?
Right.
You're taking something that's a pure, straight extract, putting it in your body's absorbing it. Now everything's absorbed. When you're taking the plant material, it's got to go through metabolism and digestion and everything else. So that's what I'm just saying. That's why I tell people be very careful with the extracts. Extracts should never be used by people who are newbies, people who are just introducing themselves to kratom. You really need a base, understand the base of the plant before you jump to extracts. So.
Right. And you mentioned that you weren't a scientist, but you talk about one scientist who I've also referenced several times in my work, Christopher McCurdy, who does research kratom. And he has said that the 7-OH is a pure opioid in its action, and it's almost identical to going into a pharmacy with a prescription and coming out with a bottle of morphine or hydrocodone or oxycodone. And but he makes it very clear that it is not the same thing as kratom. So I think that is the thing that everyone really needs to focus on, because a lot of these bans that are being proposed are because of the fact that people don't understand the difference.
No, they don't.
Yeah. And
Everything that's all kratom.
right. And fortunately, we have people like you who are really going above and beyond to educate consumers. And even though you do sell kratom, you're really focused on the educational component, which really impressed me when I first went on your website. And I love how much information you have on your packaging. And like that is rare for me to see, I think, with kratom vendors. I think it's becoming a little bit more common, but not to the extent that I see with you, and how active you are in the community and how much you fight against this misinformation. So, what are some things that consumers can do to avoid purchasing some of these products in the future if they don't go to ChristopherOrganicsBotanicals.com? If they're out in the world and they say, "Oh, look at this. This looks like it could be a fun thing." Like, what advice do you have for them?
Well, the one thing I appreciate that, ever since the beginning, even since 2017, the one warning we started with was before using any herbal products, have the full knowledge of the herb, its workings, and any adverse reactions it may cause.
Mhm.
And that's important because we just don't want people willy nilly taking a bunch of kratom, not knowing what they're doing.
Sure.
So if you're buying a product, what I would say is definitely look for directions for use. Look for some kind of testing. Very important. Some kind of testing result, percentages, something on the package that shows you what you're consuming and how much of it. Kratom, you see sometimes 2, 3, 400 milligram metrogyne shots or tinctures. They're not meant to be taken in one shot. They're meant to be like a tincture.
Okay.
So you sip a little bit, try a little bit. Just don't drink the whole thing. Figure it out. Especially if you can't find any instructions or, you're just there and you figure, I'm just going to grab this. Just don't take it all at once. Take it slow. Because you can always take a little more. It's when you take too much that you're going to just be feeling like crap. And then you're going to write kratom off and go, oh, kratom didn't work. It was that crap that made me sick.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen that so many times. I had a friend who met with a kratom vendor for lunch, and he gave her white tablets. They were white extract. And if you have never tried kratom, I certainly do not recommend starting with the white vein, especially if you
nope,
have anxiety or any type of
especially extract.
hyperactive. And so he said, just take one of these, you'll be fine. Like, basically didn't give her any information. And she didn't call me first. She just took it. And then she said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I will never do this again." And I was like, "No, wait a minute. Please, please, I promise you," because she has chronic pain. And I said, if you try the tea first. I feel like the tea is such a great introduction to kratom,
Yeah, 100.
especially your tea. Ah, I love your tea, but it's it's
And
so great.
we use it. We use it ourselves. Our family uses it. So we make sure that's the one thing we did since the beginning. I said, I want to make sure that we get the best possible kratom we can have, what we can find. And I'm so glad we worked with who we worked with because it worked out great.
That's
So,
amazing. And that's so important as well, is like sourcing it ethically and making sure you know who you're getting it from, right?
yep, exactly.
So
Exactly.
so, to that effect, what is the KCPA, and how do vendors like yourself support it?
Well, the KCPA stands for the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. And you have individual states that the KCPA is either passed or it has been filed. But we also have a federal KCPA. The reason I bring up the federal KCPA is that will help if we pass a federal KCPA, that will help the banned states. Because the banned states have always said they were banning kratom because the federal government doesn't have any instructions or they don't have any, guidance on this. So they're going ahead. Well, if the federal government has guidance, just like Louisiana banned all kratom August 1st. They don't care. And they said there's no difference between 7-OH extracts, regular kratom. It's all the same. They don't care. And that was that. Now, the FDA has come out, said there's a difference. We're not talking about natural kratom powder. We're talking about synthetics, which sums it up pretty well because that's what everybody in the natural kratom community or the kratom community has been fighting for since the beginning. Like in 2016, we weren't in front of the White House passing around 7-OH tablets. We were passing around a cup of tea.
Mhm.
So people might get mad at me for saying that, but that's the truth. That's the truth. Yes, there were extract companies out there, but most of them people weren't really flocking to. They were flocking towards the powder. They were flocking towards the natural substance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the roots. That's the roots of the community. So it's, that's why I want people to know. You have the KCPA. If that federal KCPA gets passed, that gives just instructions to all the other states to say, hey, natural kratom's okay. This is okay. Extracts made from kratom naturally are okay. It's the synthetic that's a problem. So
Right.
that's why the KCPA is important.
Because naturally, I don't think we made this point very clear, it's just the same as using coffee, which Christopher McCurdy has
Yeah.
also said. It's akin to that because it is in the coffee family. And as long as you're drinking, I mean, this is how I compare it. If you're drinking a couple of cups of coffee a day, you should be okay health-wise, right? If you're drinking 10 shots of espresso couple times a day, that could be an issue for your heart and other things, right? Not to say I haven't I haven't been down that road when I was younger, drinking lots of espresso and caffeine, but you know what I mean?
Me
Like, as
too.
your body gets older and, you have to be a little bit wiser with those choices. But that's how I compare it.
And go to 7-Eleven and get the double gulp. It's like a 2 liter of Pepsi when I was a teenager. So yeah, bad. And
Yeah.
the sugar and the caffeine. Oh my God.
Right.
So,
So, yeah. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, which I feel like a lot of people don't because they don't understand it, they just think it's an opioid. And I showed you pitches from, news outlets talking about how it is an opioid. And I've had to push back and say it definitely is not an opioid.
no.
But yeah, so it's really important to clarify that. And I feel like people who have an issue with being honest about these clarifications aren't really in it for the right reasons, That's my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
So, before we end, do you have any other advice for people who are avoiding kratom for this very reason?
Yeah, and I did want to make a comment about Christopher McCurdy. He is, ever since we started the company, I've been following the science. I've gone by what the scientists say, and we've supported the University of Florida, their kratom research for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years now. And we believe in that. We believe in what the research comes out is what dictates how we should run our company and how we should offer up kratom products. So he has come out a lot of times and even recently came out and said again, he said there are 3 different types of kratom products in the market. There's kratom capsules and powder, there's kratom extracts, and there's 7-OH. So, and he said from his own words, he doesn't think that anything should be in the market except for kratom powder and capsules. He said until we know more.
Mhm.
And I understand why he's saying that because there's no way to differentiate how much somebody should take. With kratom powder, you already have that built-in safety mechanism. You take too much, you throw up, don't do it again, try it again tomorrow. With the extracts, it's just hard. Like, I don't see a safety issue where people are going to drop dead, but I see an issue of people trying all the extracts that can kratom's making them sick
Mhm.
and then not wanting to try kratom. So from the advocacy standpoint, that's where I look at it and I try to explain to people, don't go more than whatever 100 milligrams a mit or 200 milligrams a mit a day, whatever your body is. If you're a 10-year kratom consumer, you probably handle 200 grams a mit a day. If you're new, or 200 milligrams. If you're new, you probably can't. You should probably stick to about 25,
Yeah.
maybe. So that's all. Just the
Yeah.
education.
I love that. I love that you're willing to say that because I have interviewed quite a few kratom vendors over the last decade, and they're always so afraid to say that. In fact, we've done an episode where the owner of a kratom company wouldn't. I mean, they were selling kratom drinks, but they just would not go near that question. And I was like, I understand legally why you don't want to say this, but it's important to be honest, especially if you use it yourself, how you use it, because how else are you supposed to guide people,
Correct. And I mean, we're in 2025 now.
Right.
FDA, we have a new FDA, we have a new everything. They're not dealing with the lies. Just tell the truth to your customers. Just, yes, this is the way you use it. Everybody's so scared. I mean, when I first started using kratom, it was a slow burn with long legs, stuff
Mhm.
like that, the way you talk. Everybody was so afraid to talk about what it would do. And I'm just glad we can at least we're having the conversation.
Right.
So
I mean, the former CDC commissioner even said that it has a low abuse potential, right? That's pretty big. I feel that's
Yeah.
pretty big development. It's like there really isn't, and obviously there are cases where if it's combined with certain medications or
Yes,
we
definitely.
have to say that. But if you really look at those cases, then you see like there were other factors, right? Like,
Correct.
so
And you can only do so much harm with powder.
that's true, right? That's all I
That's
stick
part of
with,
it.
honestly, and the tea. I mean, I just that's it.
I do have extracts. I have extracts for bad days. If
Yeah.
I have a really bad day and I need something, I'll take a little bit of extract
Mhm.
along with my powder,
Mhm.
and it seems to give it that boost. But I don't take extracts by themselves at all.
Right. That's I do that sometimes if I have a really high pain day, but for the most part, I
I'm
stick
sorry.
with.
I think I went off the question too. I don't remember what the last question
Oh.
was.
Just what advice you have for people who are avoiding kratom? I think you pretty much nailed it, though.
Oh, yeah. Don't be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. Take your time. Don't give up. It's not like taking a pill and you go away. There might be a little trial and error. Is it a teaspoon? Is it a half a teaspoon? But it'll take a couple weeks. And
Yeah.
once you figure it out, you're going to be real happy you put in the time.
Exactly. I mean, I've had people say, "Oh, I don't feel anything." Oh, and then, like, write it off, and I'm like, "No, you will. You'll get there, and you'll be very happy for it." I have been off of pharmaceutical pain medication for over a decade now because of it. And yeah, it's truly saved my life. Like, I'm not understating that at all, like,
No, me
or
neither.
overstating it, I should say. Um, yeah, I'm
No,
not being
I agree
hyperbolic.
with you. Yes, I agree with you. I mean, I do take the occasional leave when nothing else is working, but overall, I don't have to be dependent on a bunch of pain meds every day. I don't. I still have to take a heart med because of my heart attack when I was younger, but beyond that, I don't have to depend on a bunch of meds. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me again. Before
yep.
we end, tell people where they could find you, and do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about? I know you have your Kratom Talk on
Yes,
Wednesdays. Do you want to, or Tea Talk? I forgot what you called it. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
it is called Tea Talks, but that's what it is. It's just a place where people can come. It originally started for just our customers. I sent out an email to all our customers, but then I wanted to open it up to other people. Just anybody who has a question about Kratom was just like, I'm curious. What about this? If they have whatever question, I don't even care. We talked about quitting sugar. We talked about quitting alcohol. We talked just everything. Anybody just come there. It's about an hour, hour and a half to just sit around and,
And you talk
talk.
about all plant medicines because I caught the clips about CBD
CBD oil, yeah.
combating the overconsumption of THC, which I was like,
THC.
okay, good. I like that. I like to see it.
Yep. 'Cause people don't know. I've had that question so many times. Like, oh my God, I ate an edible and now I'm freaking out. Well, go get some CBD oil. It'll counteract it,
Yep,
balance out.
it
Oh, that's
sure
it.
will.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. So,
All
but
right.
yeah, we're doing our tea talks Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard. You can check our Google My Business page. There's a registration link there for it.
Okay.
And you can find us at Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com.
And
And
you have a
we have
YouTube, right?
blogs.
As well.
Yes, a YouTube as well. We are active on YouTube, TikTok, X. Facebook kind of limits us, Facebook and Instagram a little bit. Even just TikTok, they knock down a lot of videos if you mention anything close to Kratom. So
Yeah. So you're going to be
hard to get the
boosting up
word
your
out.
Substack soon, right?
Yes, I'm going to be getting that going, and we're going to start getting the word out. We're going to start really pushing it hard. So,
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
yep, you got it. No problem.
Your Highness Media. Subscribe to our podcast. Would you subscribe to Your Highness Media?
This podcast has been a product of Your Highness Media. Each episode is written, produced, and edited by Your Highness Media. Thank you for listening.